Golden Spiral Media presents The Blacklist Exposed.
Hello, special agents. You have come to the right place. Welcome to The Blacklist Exposed. I am Agent Troy Heinrichs. We are here with a special edition of The Blacklist Exposed with our Season 1 special archive episodes. The following episode appeared on the TV Talk Network for Season 1 of The Blacklist, and we're bringing it to you here on The Blacklist Exposed, remastered and used with permission from TV Talk. We hope you sit back, relax, and enjoy this special episode from Season 1.
You're tuned in to TV Talk, The Blacklist. Welcome to TV Talk, America's #1 TV talk show network. And now it's time for TV Talk, The Blacklist.
The next time you are looking to drive a piece of German engineering, just make sure it's not dirty before you drive it off the lot. Welcome to another episode of TV Talk, The Blacklist. I'm Troy.
And I'm Dave, and we're back this week talking about Episode 6 of the first season of The Blacklist, titled Gina Zanetakos, airing October 28th, 2013.
And before we get started tonight, Dave, we wanted to give a big thanks and a shout-out to Stuart from Ohio and Mike from Maryland for answering our talkback questions last week.
And they did more than just answer the question. They shared it with their friends, because here at TV Talk, sharing is winning. And this week, our weekly prize is a Logitech Harmony system. So share like crazy.
Well, I know that Lizzie is sharing Tom tonight, whether she likes it or not, with Gina, because apparently Gina is Tom's lover.
Yes. Oh my. How scandalous. And the Tonight Show actually opens with quite the bang, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I thought the bang was going to be Tom and Lizzie arguing, but instead we get a little bit of a preview of Gina's handiwork as she decides that building dirty bombs out of old Studebakers must be a fun thing to do.
Yeah, and apparently she likes what she sees, and she goes ahead and places her order for the bomb that is going to be the centerpiece of tonight's show.
But of course, this whole episode is focused around Tom and Lizzie and their relationship, given our cliffhanger from last week as Tom discovers the box. So they have a pretty good, decent blowout, yelling at each other. I'm surprised that passports and, foreign currency weren't thrown during this argument.
And Tom has a great line, too, about saying, oh, so you think I'm James Bond? I'm Tom Bond? Is that what you're trying to tell me?
Yeah, what is it? Between social studies and recess, I'm going out trying to meet with bad guys.
Yeah, and he's playing it straight. If he is involved in this, he is not letting on in any way.
Yeah, I mean, from what we can tell, it seems like he's pretty honest in this episode that he has no clue why his pictures are on these passports. Now, I know with all these kinds of genre television shows, your brain kind of goes into overdrive and you start to overthink every single thing you see. But I think Tom's pretty genuine for the most part as this episode goes along.
Yeah, I agree, but Liz is just relentless. I mean, she just keeps the pressure on him, and during the argument, she's like, I'm going to call the FBI.
Would you call the FBI on your spouse?
Boy, I don't know. She seems pretty confident that he's bad. I mean, she's convinced herself that something's not right. But she goes ahead and makes the call. She calls the FBI.
I think the thing that's interesting here is, she works for the FBI. So I think she has some kind of duty. Yes, I said duty, everybody. I love that movie. But she works for the FBI, so of course she's going to make this call because she wants answers. I mean, that's her job at the end of the day, But at the same time, if you're having this relationship with your spouse, you're trying to start a family, you're trying to adopt, and this is your rock, right? Because your entire world is upside down, except for when you come home, because everything at home is what you're supposed to know and what you're supposed to trust. How challenging is this now for Lizzie to have her world rocked both at work and at home?
Right, and she's got to complicate her own life because she knows that her superiors are going to come down on her like a ton of bricks.
Yeah, is this the last time she's going to see Tom for weeks, months? They're going to put him on a ship next to Red in his cell.
But and through that all, once they get into FBI headquarters, she still softens a little bit and just tells Tom, just tell the truth. If you tell the truth, you got nothing to worry about.
Now, this thing with Red, he's dealing artwork. It seems like he's again squatting in some rundown place. He must have apartments all over the world or something. Who knows? He's dealing artwork, and I didn't know what to make of this at the beginning of the episode because I thought it was just kind of like fluff and filler. And then, man, does it actually play a really key role and a key point for later on in the episode?
Yeah, it really does. You got to really pay attention to these episodes because they're dropping little hints all along the way.
And I thought it was great to see Red's second in command, if you will. Even though Dombey and the rest of the gang is there, he's still got, we'll call him Mr. Belvedere, for lack of a better name still, because I don't think we've actually met his helper's name yet.
No, he seems to be there, and he's always taking the calls, and that's what happens in tonight's episode. While Red's making this art deal, Mr. Belvedere gets a phone call, and he tells Red that there's something going down with Liz.
Yeah, and that something going down with Liz is, of course, Tom coming into the FBI. He gets interrogated pretty heavily, and so Liz and Red meet. And the thing that I find fascinating about this show, and John and Bokenkamp and John Eisendrath are doing a really great job. They're bringing real life examples. I mean, they're talking about the whole Tylenol poisonings and the Chernobyl thing, and they're tying it right into, well, these things are tied to terrorists, and, every single incident like this is tied to somebody on the blacklist. So I think it's really great that John and John are using real, actual scenarios that have happened through history to tie it into the show.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's where they head with this. As they're discussing this, Gina, he says she's a corporate terrorist. And not only that, she's Tom's lover.
Yeah, that was a big shock.
Yeah. Lizzie couldn't have liked hearing that.
And, if she's anybody's lover from what we saw tonight, that's a relationship you do not want to be in because, depending on how you roll, getting stabbed in the neck is not something that I think I want to have happen to me in the bedroom.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's kind of how we meet Gina. She's a little incognito, and she's with this foreign gentleman. They're getting ready to get a little frisky in the hotel room, and instead she kind of stabs the guy in the neck with a needle.
And of course, you have this great they're standing there, and she just kind of like pushes him over with one finger, like it was effortless to knock this guy off.
But she makes it look like suicide. She scatters some pills around, and she gets herself together, and out the door she goes.
So again, Wrestler, I don't know what is up with this guy. He seems to be the only one in the entire show that actually goes like hand-to-hand combat with anybody. And of course, this time he's got to beat up chicks in an elevator. What's up with that?
Yeah, it was actually a great scene because Wrestler and Gina end up in the same elevator quite by happen chance. But I'll tell you what, this Gina, you don't want to be messing around with her. This lady's got some moves.
From her accent, did you pick up? Was she Russian? Was she Eastern European?
Yeah, I mean, I caught a little bit of all that. I think she could be any of that. I don't know that we ever really learn what she is. I think she's whatever she needs to be for the situation she's in. Boy, they really go at it, and she ends up actually taking Wrestler out.
Yep, WWE style. Stacy Keibler should watch out because that was one mean sleeper hold she put on Wrestler.
It really is. But during the whole tussle, she loses her cell phone.
Yes, and of course, as Liz is sitting there going through the hotel room, she finds this cell phone and she's scrolling through the numbers, and of course, just happens to land on the one number that seems interesting, and of course, that number ends up being Gina's as she's talking to Wrestler on the other end.
Exactly, and I don't know what the significance of the name Shuby Hartwell, but that's the number that was on the phone. I'm wondering if somewhere down later in further episodes that'll play a part anywhere.
So we find out that Liz is basically trying to defend Tom. She feels that Tom is being set up because they actually go and find this professor that he supposedly interviewed with, and the professor has no clue who Tom is. So the mysteries just keep unfolding when it comes to Tom and what's really going on.
Yeah, they really do. Lay that picture down in front of Tom, and he's like, who's this? It's the guy that he supposedly interviewed with, and he doesn't know this guy from, it's like, that's not him. That's not who I talked to.
So the really interesting thing I found about tonight's episode was they go and they actually find Gina's apartment, and they go and get a box for Gina that was kind of hiding in the furnace. And of course, I was waiting until they could show me a shot of the lid of the box. And sure enough, as the lid was sitting off to the side, it did have this Y burn mark, just like Tom's box, just like Lizzie's burn on her hand. So, are these boxes part of some organization that we haven't met yet?
Yeah, I mean, it's all playing into it. I mean, the box it was an identical box, and it was almost filled with the exact same identical items, passports. But even more importantly, what they find in Gina's bedroom is a picture of Tom.
Yeah, which is really interesting. So the question becomes, was Tom actually going to be taken out if Gina's an assassin, or was it a partnership? Because it seemed like Lizzie might have been in that photo too, but Lizzie was cropped out because there was a hand around Tom's shoulder.
Right, exactly. At this point, Rustler tells Lizzie, it might be time to protect yourself. You're into this much deeper than you think you are.
So she's going to protect herself. Who's the first person she goes and runs to?
Oh, Red.
I don't know why I'm here. Save me. She's done that twice now in the episode, and I don't know how I feel about that. It seems a little too simplistic for her to go run to Red. He is a career criminal after all. Why would you confide in this guy?
Exactly. But it seems like these meetings, they're becoming more and more, I don't want to use the word passionate, but this time at the end of their little talk, they're holding hands.
Yeah, that was a little creepy, actually. So I'm voting back now to the creepy uncle rather than the father. Father would have at least put her arm around, giving her a hug. Creepy uncle, holding hands. I don't know. I'm just making stuff up.
It was a very good exchange. Lizzie is really starting to break down a little bit in front of Red. I mean, she tells Red, I needed you to be wrong about him, realizing that it's appearing that Red was right all along. Well,
of course, Red's right all along, because as the episode goes on, we find out that we think at least that Red basically set up the entire thing.
Exactly. And now once again, they want to pull Liz off the case because of all this involvement that she has. But Red will not budge. Red says, if she's out, then I'm out, and you're not going to get any more information. And you need to find this bomb maker. The only thing we have left is the bomb maker.
Yeah, and it seemed like Liz was almost kind of pissed off about that, because they were sitting there and it's like, well, the only reason, I'm not off the case is because you need me, because you need Red. And
exactly.
She almost took offense when Harold and Ressler were talking about that with her.
Right. So she knows what's going on with this, but at the same time, she needs to know what's going on with her husband. So I think that's why she's playing along so easily.
So apparently her and Red find out some information that something called Cobalt 60 is going to be used in this dirty bomb, and Maxwell Rudiger is the bomb maker that they are going to find in Germany.
Right, and Red says, if you find Maxwell, you'll find Gina, and if you find Gina, you'll know about Tom's involvement.
And I just love how Red is so connected, because he's like, well, Maxwell, I'm just going to go find you out at your fishing cabin here in Germany. Just pop in, have a little tea, didn't even have to hunt him down or anything. He just kind of showed up on the front doorstep.
Right, exactly. But the nice thing about Red is he can be threatening without being physical.
Yeah.
I mean, he I'll use the word persuades Maxwell to help him find out where this bomb is.
Yeah, I mean, because you're a Browns fan and I'm a Packers fan, and it's just like, it's like, if I want tickets, you have to give me your tickets, Dave, because I just happen to know this other guy that if you don't give me tickets, he's going to be mad that he didn't get tickets. And, he just spins it like it's a completely like normal conversation. Like, if I find out that this bomb goes off and the bomb is traced back to this Cobalt 60, then it's going to get traced back to me, and I'm not so cool with that.
Exactly. But he does get Maxwell to spill the beans. He finds out that it's in a car, which we know from the beginning of the episode. We already know that. But it does have a 5-mile radius on the bomb. And they're also able to find out where Gina is.
Yeah, so they basically track down Gina and eventually get her to get taken out, checked up in the hospital. They're having this conversation, and then Gina kind of spills the whole beans that there's really Red Reddington that ordered this whole thing.
It comes out that he seems to be kind of the mastermind behind the entire thing.
But even though that, Red and her have been kind of working together in cahoots for this whole thing, Lizzie shows the picture of Tom to Gina, and basically she has no clue who Tom is.
She comes right out and says, do you know this man? Gina says, I've never seen him before.
But even still, there's a bomb to be defused, because you can't have a solid TV show without some exciting last-minute entertainment from Donald Ressler himself.
Yes, absolutely. They, through some convenient sleuthing, Lizzie is able to figure out that Houston is the target of the dirty bomb.
Right. So basically they have this corporate espionage going on. They tie it back to the original art scene that we thought was just kind of fluff in the beginning, to then figure out that through all of this corporate meandering that this one corporation wants to control the port in New Orleans. Therefore, Houston, we have a problem.
Exactly. So off to the Houston Shipyard they go, which is something like 25 miles long, and they're looking for one car just amongst all these storage containers.
They were looking for a car because the first, 10 minutes they were there. I mean, they're opening up all these containers and they're like actually wanding every single piece of thing inside the container. And it's like, dude, we're looking for a car. Open the door. If it's not a car, move to the next container. We got time ticking here.
But they kind of figure that out as they go, because, well, of course, we know it's a car from the beginning, but there's a point there where Lizzie kind of puts two and two together, and they're like, wait a minute, they would have had to sneak this in, and something about diplomatic immunity, and somehow they figure out it's in a car. So then they really start narrowing their search down for just the car.
So then they find the car, and the interesting thing is that they're not going to be able to defuse this bomb, right? So granted, it's radioactive, 5-mile radius, not such a big area, but it's going to basically render Houston completely inoperable for the next, bazillions of years. So I'd love to hear if there's any bomb type specialists that are listening to the show, if they could answer the talkback button there and just let us know what they feel about the physics of how they kind of cover up this radioactive material by driving it into the lake.
Yeah, they drive it right into the water, which I guess, on the surface seems plausible. I guess it would, but wouldn't now the water be completely unusable for all eternity?
I would assume so. But again, the bomb must have been a dud because the splash that it made really wasn't all that effective for how deep down that car could have gotten in the 4 seconds.
Yeah, or whatever it was. Exactly. But it all seems to kind of work out. And I liked kind of the way they made it. The bomb wasn't just in the car. The car was actually the bomb. The bomb experts, like, I've never seen anything like this before. It would have been nice if they would have played into that a little bit more, into the technical ends of that. But instead, they just drive it off the end of the pier into the water, and Rustler saves the day once again. Yeah,
because your crumple zone impact on the front bumper, you don't want to drive that into a brick wall because you'll blow up.
You gotta love it.
So the real interesting thing of this episode was right towards the end. So they exonerate Tom. Tom comes out, gives Lizzie a hug, and he looks over at the board as Lizzie's kind of taking Tom's pictures off, and he just happens to notice a picture, and he goes up to the board like, that's the guy that I interviewed with. And that guy just happens to be none other than
Mr. Reddington's errand boy, the gentleman who we see pretty much every episode. At the beginning of this episode was with Red while he was looking at the artwork. We're just going to call him Mr. Belvedere because he doesn't have a name, right?
Right. So the big talkback question for this week, Dave and I are completely stumped, is why is Mr. Belvedere on the board as part of the investigation? I mean, I can't think of any plausible reason why he would have been up there in the first place.
I'll be interested to hear everybody's input onto why they think that man's picture was on there, other than obviously just to move the plot of the story along.
Which is exactly what happens, right? Because Lizzie comes in and basically yells at Red, who's still looking at this painting that's blue, which is really blue or gray-green or whatever it is, as this ship is tossing in the waters, which is exactly how Red and Lizzie's relationship is at the end of the episode, because she's like, why was your guy there talking to Tom? And that's how we figure out who actually is in the photo.
Right. And Red has a great line. He tells Lizzie, I can only lead you to the truth. I can't make you believe it. And to that, Lizzie tells him basically take a hike, and off she storms.
Right. But of course, they're going to have to work together because it's only 6 episodes in. And of course, granted how long this blacklist is, we got a lot more numbers to tick off because we just ticked off number 152 this evening when Gina was captured in the hospital.
And of course, the return of my personal favorite character, Mr. Appleeater.
The guy that was working for Mr. Appleeater, he's kind of ticked off because he wanted to see the makeup sex. But then they're kind of watching Tom to see what's happening. So now my head is really spinning around these guys because it seems as if they're not watching Lizzie, they're watching Tom. And I don't think they're working for Reddington.
All we know now for sure is that he doesn't work for Reddington. The guy says, well, then who the hell does he work for? And that closed the episode out.
Yeah, so I'm really interested to see, because what that now kind of has me spinning in my head is that if Tom has the box with the mark on the top, and Gina has the box with the mark on the top, and Lizzie has the scar with the mark on her hand, maybe Red isn't the father after all, and maybe Liz's father, who did give her the burn on her hand, is actually part of some other organization that is in the mix of all of this, and we have yet to meet said organization.
Exactly. I'm thinking the exact same thing. I'm with you on that one 100%, Troy. That really seems to be where it's heading.
Well, what do you all say? Are you with us? Do you think there's a third or fourth faction that is yet to be discovered, maybe towards the end of season 1? You can go ahead and give us that, as well as the answer to our talkback question this evening. Why is Mr. Belvedere on the board as part of the investigation?
And to answer the talkback question, or leave any comment for that matter, push the talkback area in the center of the app, and then let everyone know on Facebook and Twitter how much you love TV Talk, The Blacklist.
And we now have even more ways that you can share, which equals more ways that you can be entered to win the weekly prize drawing, as our TV Talk website has recently been updated. So now you can actually share the show itself or share a specific episode. Heck, you can even listen to the talkback clips right on tvtalk.com.
And remember, sharing is winning. So share and share and share. Facebook, Twitter, even old school email. Just keep sharing.
Yeah, and don't forget to be sure to listen to us right on the TV Talk app, because Dave and we're only half of the show.
That's right, Troy. The talkback clips, they come up next, right after you're done listening to us. You can really expand the discussion for all the TV Talk Blacklist listeners.
Yeah, so download the TV Talk app today at tvtalkapp.com right from your iOS or Android device to get those extra details from the fans just like you. And until next week, I'm Troy.
And I'm Dave, taking on the mission to unravel the mysteries that surround the criminals on
The Blacklist.
And now it's time for this week's Talkback Clips.
We hope you enjoyed this special version of The Blacklist Exposed, previously aired on the TV Talk network and used with permission. Until next time, I'm Agent Troy Heinrichs. That's at Troy Heinrichs on Twitter. And if you want to learn more about me, just visit, about.me/Troy Heinrichs.
And I'm Agent Aaron Peterson. You can hear me talking about movies and TV on the Hollywood Outsider podcast, as well as Remake This Movie Right. We are available at thehollywoodoutsider.com or on Twitter at H_outsider. Be sure to subscribe, download the app, submit your feedback, but most importantly, keep yourself off of The Blacklist.
The Blacklist Exposed is a Golden Spiral Media production. Find more of our great podcasts at goldenspiralmedia.com/podcasts.